All right, hello everyone, good afternoon. Hi. Nice to see you all here. This is it. This is our last free Wednesday concert for the semester. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being supportive of our concerts throughout the semester. We'll be back in the fall. The first concert listed on the back is on September 17th, so you can mark your calendar. You're also welcome to consider a donation to our concert fund. If you would like, there's information on the back, as well as classes in the fall that relate to this. You can get credit for attending classes, attending concerts if you wish. That information is on the back. All right, so in the spirit of live performance, we have some changes to the program. So I'm very happy to announce that another colleague of mine, Ryan Stewart, who's our new studio guitar instructor here at Valley College, is going to perform for you today. So we're super excited. And of course, Dr. Garvey, being joined by my colleague, Dr. Garvey, who's going to play a piano solo, and then he and I are going to do a couple of tunes together. And in the vein of these last two concerts, this is the third of three concerts entitled "What is Good Music?" So it's just a general question, philosophical question, if you will, to challenge you in a little way to think about what makes music good to you, to somebody else. And these pieces that you will hear today are all favorites of ours. Again, this came from my other colleague who's in the room, Natalie Pang, who we had a conversation a month or so ago, and we were talking about how in concerts, after concerts, we often get asked, what's your favorite piece of music? Or who's your favorite composer? Which for a musician is pretty close to impossible to answer, but there are certain pieces that stick out. So we thought, well, why don't we do some concerts where we let people that be the feature? So that's what these last 3 weeks have been. Colleagues, faculty colleagues here at Valley, performing pieces that they really like for different reasons. And we will, as in the other two concerts, we'll tell you a little bit about why we like them, why we think they're favorites of ours, and then you can make up your mind whether you think so as well. Okay, so now to the change part. So because Ryan is joining us, we're going to move things around a little bit. We're first going to start with Dr. Garvey playing his piece that he'll explain to you a little bit. And then when we're doing a little bit of stage tech crew stuff, I'll be doing some tech crew stuff, Ryan can set up and then he'll do his piece second. And we'll announce that when we get there, what the piece is, or I'll let him announce that when we get there. And I'm going to read his short bio to you at that point too, because it didn't make it in the program. And then we'll do a couple of tunes at the end. All right? So first, Dr. Garvey's piano solo, Professor Ryan Stewart's guitar solo, and then the two songs that Dr. Garvey and I will be performing together. All right? Sound good? All right. Enjoy the concert. Please welcome Dr. Garvey.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for the third, I think, in the series of favorite music concerts,
yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm privileged and really happy to share with you today one of my favorite pieces. But first, why is it, or what do I really hate about this piece? Right, because I will tell you that first. It's really physically stressful to play, right? I did suffer at the beginning of the semester from tendinosis, and I think I had to sort of play more gently during choir rehearsals because I was stressing my right arm too much. So there's some things that Southam, the composer of this piece, asks you to do that are difficult, especially for the length of time that you have to do it. The first thing is that she puts you into this kind of awkward position for 6.5 minutes. So when you see me kind of like drifting back and sort of scooting to the left and like moving my shoulder and breathing, obviously that's kind of what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to relax, trying to build it in. But apart from that, I love this piece, right? Anna Southam, the Canadian composer, she just died in, I think, 2010 thereabouts, and she wrote this series of pieces called Rivers, sort of inspired by rivers in the Canadian landscape where she's from. She was known for electronic music and minimalism in particular, and especially minimalism on the piano, which she realizes in a really beautiful and fascinating way. So some of the things that I love about this piece, and I love all her rivers, but this particular one is sort of based on a harmonic scheme of. Beautiful, right? Very close to the Mixolydian scale, which has always been one of my favorite sort of sounds. Growing up in Ireland, a lot of our folk music is Mixolydian. You know, a lot of the bagpipes have that flattened seventh, the cool sort of sound there, right? And that's built into this piece, which is just something that it was a natural fit for me. It's also got a lot of sort of meditative qualities about it. They all the rivers have, but this one in particular, it's kind of like low-key trance induction in a way. So if you find yourself drifting, that's totally normal, right? And sort of thinking about different things, hearing different things in the music that you might not expect at first. I hopefully won't drift, right? That's one of the things about the piece that actually I like so much. It requires sustained concentration for 6.5 minutes, which is tricky to do, right? Because you don't want to lose your pace. You don't want to get lost in the midst of all these eddies and whirlpools and bubbles that we're seeing in the river, or notes that I'm playing on the piano, right? So it's a fascinating piece, but pieces like that attract me because they require a commitment and that you can't sort of let up until the very end. Just some things you should know. She does ask for certain notes on the piano to be sustained or held down, which creates that kind of sound that you just heard there. You hear that, right? She asked for some notes to be held down. I expanded that a little bit by putting a wooden piece of wood there on the lower half of the keys, covering it gracefully with my wife's scarf, and clamping it down so that you're getting that nice resonance without the overuse of the pedal, which would just cloud everything. So you get the sensation of a fast river going by like that with a little bit of resonance in the background. What else? Well, she doesn't ask for a video accompaniment, but I thought it might be nice to have in the background. Okay. So Rivers, set 3, number 2, and so.
All right, so while Professor Stewart is setting up, I wanted to read his bio for you so you can know a little bit about his background. And I'll eventually, when I have a minute, I'll post this on the website where you can find all of the videos from this semester, all the programs from the semester. I'll put it in an archive on the website. Of course, you can find with the QR codes, and I'll update that so you have his bio. But let me read it to you. So, Ryan Stewart is a genre-spanning guitarist, producer, and audio engineer whose work reflects deep musical fluency and refined craftsmanship. Grounded in the culture of jazz, driven by a lifelong passion for solo guitar, and sharpened by over 2 decades of pop production, Stewart brings a uniquely balanced perspective to both performance and studio work. Whether on stage or behind the console, his focus is on serving the music with sensitivity, precision, and style. As an educator, Ryan is known for distilling his wide-ranging expertise into accessible, individualized guidance that inspires growth and artistry in his students. He holds both a Master of Music and a Bachelor of Music in Studio Guitar from the USC Thornton School of Music. He currently teaches at LA Valley College, and we're happy to have him, East Los Angeles College, and offers private instruction from his own studio. Ryan.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we're 2 for 2, but if you wouldn't mind checking your cell phones and make sure the ringer is off, we'd appreciate it.
Sure, I will do that. Yeah, my phone's on silent.
Excellent. Thank you. So today, Dr. Garvey and I are going to perform 2 songs from you from the British music tradition. The first piece by Peter Warlock, who was actually born under the name Philip Hazeltine, but he chose the name Peter Warlock. It's related somehow to his interest in the occult, but I'm not going to go too far down that rabbit hole. But it's sort of interesting and completely unplanned, but this first piece, My Own Country, very much falls into sort of the same category as Home that by Andrew York that Ryan Stewart just played for you. There's a certain sentimentality to it. Of course, there are lyrics to it, but it speaks of that idea of finding your place in the world, wherever that happens to be. There's a strong connection to nature and the beauty of nature and how nature can sort of heal us. And that will play into both of the pieces we're going to do today. The first, as I said, My Own Country by Peter Warlock. So I like this piece very much for those reasons I just mentioned. It's sweet, it's sentimental. I'm unabashedly sentimental, and I love that. I also love music. This is very much a singer thing. Well, I'm sure any musician. I like the way the music feels in my voice. As a singer, we are the instrument, so the vibrations that are created by the pitches you sing and so on make you feel good. And certain songs just hit that spot for me, and they are often songs of this nature. British music also, I was fortunate to be able to study in London years ago and learned a lot of British music that really wasn't that well known over here. And I really just connected to it. And as Dr. Garvey pointed out to me as we were rehearsing the other day, oh, this piece sounds like a gentle stroll through the English countryside. And I thought, wow, what could be better than that? So this is My Own Country by Peter Warlock. I shall go without companions and with nothing in my hand. I shall pass through many places that I cannot understand. stroll through the English countryside, I don't know if you can hear it, but the melody line's going up and gently down, very much like that. I love that image now. I'm gonna hold on to it forever. Anyway, we move on to a piece by Herbert Howells. Herbert Howells, another very well-known British composer, wrote a lot of organ music, and other forms of vocal music. And he took for his subject of this piece King David. And this is King David from the Bible, who, as you may know the story, was a, we put this, a sort of notoriously melancholy person. He was also a musician, and sometimes music could heal him, and sometimes it couldn't. And in this particular piece, we're going to hear how he's struggling through the first part of the song in a state of melancholy. He asks for music to be played. It doesn't work for him. But then what does he decide to do? He rises from his throne and he walks out into the garden. And, excuse me, walking into the garden, he sees the beauty all around him. He hears a bird, a nightingale in a tree, and in a sort of moment of magic, his sadness leaves him as he realizes that nature can heal us when we're struggling. So this piece, as you can tell, affects me emotionally, but it's also so beautiful musically in many different ways, and I just want to point out a few things. So first of all, in this piece, it uses very simple harmonic language. In fact, it's well over halfway through the song before there's even a single accidental used. So for those of you in theory classes know, when we start seeing accidentals in the music, first of all, we panic because we go, oh my God, what chord is this? We run to Miss Natalie Pang to solve it for us. But we wonder what's going on. But he doesn't use a single accidental. He stays in this minor key most of the way through. E flat minor, and he uses very simple language, which you would think could be sort of simple and dull, but it doesn't. He's able to evoke so many feelings in it by adding certain other elements. And one of those elements is he adds sort of extended harmonies to the diatonic harmonies that he's using, and he uses what are sometimes thought of as jazz harmonies in it. We even heard some of that in the Warlock piece before. So these very interesting chords coming out of, like, where did they come out of? So for instance, at the beginning of the piece, there's a pattern of 4 chords that you will hear, where King David is in his sad phase. It's in a minor key, and Howells writes a pattern of chords, the 4 chord, the 1 chord, the 4, and the 4. This repetition of 4, 1, 4, 4. And in a minor key, just the simple version, it sounds like this. All right, so there's a somberness to it, we get it. But Howells goes one step further, and he adds a 9th to that chord, and we end up with this sound. So not only do we have the sadness, but we have this tension in it, this beautiful tension that we're hoping is going to be resolved, and I promise you it does get resolved in the piece. But it starts out in this like beautifully melancholy way, and it works through. It tells the story of what happens to him, and then there's a section in the middle where you will hear this I don't know what other word to use, but sort of transcendent modulation into a major key, and it's when he rises from his throne and he begins to walk out into the garden, and you will trust me, you will notice it. It's incredible. Related to this 4, 1, 4, 4, then at the very end of the piece, you're going to hear that pattern again. You'll hear it many times, but you'll hear that pattern again, but now in a major key, and instead of 4, 1, 4, 4, he makes it 1, 4, 1, 1, and it sounds like this. So it has a very regal sound to it, a sense of arrival. It's very, very powerful. And so listen for that. And the last thing I want to point out is he uses a lot of, we talked in our music appreciation class about mimesis, that idea of imitating the sounds of nature. You'll hear the sound of the nightingale in there in the second part of the song. But he also does a thing which is called text painting, which he will take a term, he will take a word, and the very opening phrase of the piece is, King David was a sorrowful man. That's the opening lyric. And he could have written it like this. King like that melodically. But instead he writes, King David was a sorrowful man. He adds a couple notes in there, lets the vocal line bloom a little bit, and we get this profound sense of sorrow just out of a little change like that. So it's these kinds of elements in this song, besides it just being beautiful and the meaning of it and so on, that attract me to a piece of music when I hear or see those kinds of things. It tells me that the composer took a lot of care in what they were doing, meticulous care in what they're doing, and that helps me as a performer, hopefully, to convey that sense of emotion and expression through the music. So, no more talking. Here's King David by Herbert Howells. King David was a sorrowful man. No cause for his sorrow had he, and he called for the music of 100 harps to ease his melancholy. They played till they all fell silent. Played and played sweet, did they? But the sorrow that haunted the heart of King David, they could not charm away. He rose, and in his garden walked by the moon alone. A nightingale hidden in a cypress tree jargoned on and on. King David lifted his sad eyes into the dark-bound tree. Tell me, thou little bird that singest, who taught my grief to thee? But the bird in no wise heeded. And the king in the cool of the moon hearkened to the night. of minutes if any of you have a question for Dr. Garvey, Professor Ryan, Professor Stewart, sorry, or myself. Any questions about it? About the music you heard today, or our choices? Wow, easy, we're being let off the hook. Do I see any hands? No? Okay, it's almost summer, everyone wants to go. Miss Bank.
Everyone wants to go. I can whistle my question.
All right.
Oh my gosh, that was such a feeling and transformative concert. So thank you so much to both of you and to Professor Ryan, Professor Stewart.
Forever.
That was so beautiful through you. In your collaboration when you work together, I can tell how much these pieces mean to your vision. Are there moments when it becomes difficult to convey how you want to work it out technically, or just how the rehearsal process goes because you're feeling really emotional about the piece? Is that a difficult process to work through because you're so, I guess, wrapped up in the emotions of the piece itself?
Yeah, I mean, I'll speak for myself. It can be difficult. I mean, one of the reasons I love working with Frank is that he's so, well, amongst many other things, besides being an incredible musician and such a nice, funny guy, and he's super meticulous. He holds my feet to the fire all the time, which is I'm so grateful for, right? Because singers have a bad habit of wanting to kind of go far afield and get into the emotional thing and forget that there are rules to follow. So it can be really helpful. And I will use language when I'm trying to convey something of, speaking in sort of more generic musical terms. Can we push the tempo here? Or can we move this a little faster? But sometimes I will say, I would like this to feel, can we make it more melancholy somehow? Which then gets into this vague world of, well, how do you do that? I mean, you're not going to change the notes, but there are many other things that you could change. The dynamic level, someone bringing out a different color in the instrument. I can work on finding different colors in my voice and so on. So it can be. I try and keep my one foot in the classical world and one foot in the acting world and try and bring it together, but it's not always easy.
Can I ask a follow-up? Oh, sorry. Can I ask a follow-up to that for Dr. Garvey? When you're doing the soul piece, that was incredible, by the way. I would have passed out if I tried. I noticed that there's some moments where perhaps the articulation or a dynamic choice came through. Is that notated in the score, or is that something that you input as the artist and the interpreter?
It's not notated in the score, no. But I know that she does give freedom to the performer to bring out their own interpretation of, notes and fragments of melodies, which are going to happen anyway. You can't really help. The brain is a pattern recognition machine, so it does automatically sort of identify melodies. You can't really help it. I think as an audience, you probably noticed even going on playing those 6 notes over and over again. You probably heard lots, different melodies that were not really written in the score. But no, she doesn't write them. But I know that she worked very closely with a pianist herself for probably the last 20 or 30 years of her life. And that pianist described the freedom that Southam gave her to bring out her own articulation and little moments of melodies and fragments that might just not be written in the score. We could hear anyway. So I took that as license to bring out my own sort of playful interpretation.
Can we ask the same question of Professor Stewart? Issues related to that about feeling emotional about a piece, having to maintain integrity with your instrument and your hands, the shaking of your hands or whatever.
I mean, that sounds great, to be honest. I wish it happened more, especially in a solo environment. I feel like, for me, it's more overwhelming in group settings, and it's not necessarily an issue. It tends to be nice. I kind of embrace that. I haven't had maybe nightmare scenarios with that. To do it alone, especially when you only have one piece to play, I feel like it would be, I hope to get better at being able to access that so quickly alone. But yeah, I can't say it's been a struggle in the solo pieces.
Interesting. All right, anything else? All right.
Professor?
Yes.
I know you chose that song for King David, who must have been going through some sorrowful things. by looking at that nightingale and beginning the character shows that
Right.
music is healing.
Right.
therapy.
In unsurprising ways, right? The world can help us, can help heal us when we're we're not expecting it, right? Yeah.
Perfect.
All right, Rico, thank you very much. All right, with that then, we'll let you go. Thank you very much. Those of you in my class, please remember to sign out. I'll put the sign-out sheet out in the hallway. We'll see you in the fall semester.